All right, so you know how we love diving deep into these stories of professionals really kind of shaking things up and forging a new path? Well, today we're going to explore this fascinating world of Rodrigo Fernandez. I mean, this is a guy with a serious background in medical sales, right? Like proven leadership skills,
hmm
totally has a handle on things like persuasion and NLP and coaching. But what's really got his attention now is AI, artificial intelligence and that whole potential it has to like totally transform these offline businesses trying to navigate the digital world.
Oh, absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head. What makes Rodrigo's story so interesting is he isn't just, sitting back and watching this all unfold. He's actually building an agency from the ground up.
Hmm.
And get this, he's creating partnerships with experts in like
Mm-hmm.
personal development and patientização.
KGT.
Yeah.
For our listeners who might not be familiar with that term.
Right, of course. Peter Desires is basically, the process of a business working with the individuals, but not as your typical employees, more like as legal entities. It's this whole strategic move toward online success, and he's all in.
Wow, that's really interesting. And I gotta say, the amount of material Rodrigo shared with us for this deep dive is amazing. We're talking about everything from his evaluation of an AI mini course, his own analysis of like the ethical side of advanced AI, summaries of discussions on where AI is going, and get this, even a manual on how to use GPT for sales.
And honestly, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we also have information about AI agent platforms, his strategies for helping doctors build their online authority, resources on NLP, neuro linguistic programming. We've got detailed instructions for creating medical content for social media, comprehensive social media strategies for marketing in the medical field, even a manual on some pretty advanced closing techniques. Plus, a report on those super engaging Instagram carousels you see, a meeting strategy document, his commission models, and early plans for something called Project Aura, all about digitization for businesses.
Okay, whoa, there's a lot to unpack here. So, our mission today is to really get to the heart of Rodrigo's professional journey, right? Like, understand his experience, his skills, and his current strategic vision, especially this whole move into the digital world and his like fascination with AI. So, where do we even begin with all of this? I guess his formal introduction to AI is as good a place as any to start.
Totally agree. His participation in the mini Corso di Formação, with
Huh.
Resto Gesù and Profara Graciela, seems like the perfect jumping off point. What really stands out is this initial expression of gratitude he has for the opportunity to, like, dive into AI at this particular point in history. Like, he recognizes this pivotal moment and he's all in on understanding its significance.
And it wasn't just about checking off the boxes and completing the course, was it? I mean, he kind of went above and beyond.
Exactly. It's the fact that he went out of his way to do a analysis syntopica, which is basically a comparative analysis of two extra articles. Right. These articles were all about AI ethics and like the potential for its misuse. And that was beyond what was required for the course. That really shows you how proactive he is about learning and how deep he wants to go in understanding this stuff.
That's impressive. One of the articles he dug into was Nick Bostrom's ethical issues in advanced artificial intelligence. What did he get out of that?
His analysis of Bostrom's work shows real thought. He acknowledges Bostrom's main worry about the risks of superintelligence, which is kind of Bostrom's thing, right? But what's interesting is Rodrigo also points out some of the criticisms of that viewpoint, specifically these futuristic assumptions baked into the whole idea of superintelligence and how there's like less focus on the role of regulations and governance, in preventing potential problems.
Yeah, that's a really important point. It's easy to get caught up in these hypothetical risks of some super advanced AI way off in the future, but maybe we're missing the more immediate, like practical stuff about control and ethics right now.
Exactly. And to get a more well-rounded picture, he brought in some contrasting opinions. He mentioned Stuart Russell, who's all about making sure AI is aligned with human values, much more practical, right? Yeah. Plus, he throws in this paper from OpenAI, Oxford, and Cambridge, which focuses on more short-term AI risks. It's a good counterpoint to Bostrom's long-term, almost like existential risk view. This all shows that he can synthesize a lot of different ideas, avoid tunnel vision, which is great.
And it's super important that he's also thinking about all of this within a Brazilian context.
Yeah, for sure. His contextualization, No Brazil, digs into those specific ethical and social issues that AI brings up in Brazil. He's talking about the whole debate around data privacy, algorithmic bias, particularly in things like facial recognition tech used for security, which is a little unsettling. And of course, he mentions the anxieties about AI, potentially making existing inequalities in the job market even worse, which is a huge concern.
And what about regulations for AI in Brazil? Where does that stand right now?
He points out that Brazil's legal framework for AI is, well, it's a work in progress. He mentions the Marco Legal da Inteligência Artificial, which is currently being debated in Congress. His take is that it's all about striking that balance, right? Encouraging innovation, but also having those social safeguards in place.
Hmm.
Making sure AI helps reduce inequalities, not make them worse. And he even points to some current practical uses of AI in Brazil's sectors like agriculture, healthcare, security. So it's definitely thinking about real world implications.
So it sounds like he really engaged with Bostrom's work on a bunch of different levels, both theoretical and practical.
He did. And in what he calls his simpler analysis of Bostrom's article, he acknowledges, it was intellectually stimulating, raised some big questions about the future, but he also reiterates that it felt a bit speculative, maybe not as immediately useful for those more pressing challenges and opportunities that AI presents, right now. It's that pragmatic mindset that's so crucial for someone who wants to actually apply AI in a business setting.
Okay, so he's definitely done his homework on the ethics and the potential of AI. But what about his exploration of where AI is headed? What kind of impact it'll have on a larger scale?
To explore that, he went the YouTube route, summarized a bunch of videos, which is a super smart way to get a lot of different perspectives quickly. His summary of this Radar.com Ronaldo Lemos interview pulls out some key points about the impact of AI and automation. Lemos talks about how it disrupts various industries and services, which is something we've all been hearing, and how important digital education and tech skills are going to be to prepare people for these changes. What's insightful here is that focus on being proactive, adapting to this tech shift, rather than being caught off guard.
That's so true. If AI is going to reshape industries, we have to make sure people have the skills to keep up.
100%. Lemos also hammered home the need to update laws in Brazil to match the speed of these advancements. He gives examples of other countries that have been way more proactive about changing their legal systems to deal with AI. It's clear that Rodrigo sees how important this is going to be for him, as he moves more into the digital space.
And what about the other video he summarized? It was about that book, AI 2041, which I remember being super unique in its approach.
Yeah, his take on AI 2041 by Kai-Fu Lee and Chen Qifan focuses on that really cool structure they use, blending sci-fi stories with straight-up nonfiction explanations. So they've got these 10 short stories, right? And each one shows how AI could be used in areas like health, education, security, all within the next 2 decades. What Rodrigo found really valuable was that after each story, boo, they hit you with a technical explanation, bridging that gap between what if fiction and the tech we're actually developing now.
So it's not just pie in the sky predictions, but more like scenarios based on what's actually doable, what's in the works right now.
Exactly. What comes through in the summary is the book's balanced approach. It acknowledges the huge potential benefits of AI, of course, but also doesn't shy away from the potential risks and ethical stuff that we need to be really careful about. This shows a level of nuance in Rodrigo's thinking, right? He's not blindly optimistic, but he's not fear-mongering either.
All right, well, let's shift gears a bit and talk about what seems to be a major focus for Rodrigo right now, using AI for sales. He shared this closer manual avançado, which honestly sounds pretty ambitious.
It is. The whole point of the manual is to take a GPT agent and turn it into this elite sales machine that can work side by side with human salespeople to generate leads, close deals, and really grow a business. It's not about replacing human interaction altogether, more like giving humans these AI-powered insights and automation tools to be way more effective.
So it's about optimizing that whole sales process from first contact to sealing the deal.
Bingo. One of the main ideas in the manual is flipping the script on how salespeople typically use their time. Instead of humans spending most of their time on operational tasks, the GPT agent swoops in and takes over the routine stuff like sending initial emails, following up, making those reports. It's like freeing up humans to focus on the more, I guess you could say, human side of things, building those relationships, that final push to close.
That's smart. Automation can be a game changer for those repetitive tasks that are still essential. So, how does this GPT agent handle something as crucial as lead generation?
The manual goes into detail about this SDR sales development representative GPT. It uses a data-driven approach to find and create promising leads. So think about it. Sophisticated segmentation of potential customers based on what they've observed in existing clients. Then they use automated lead scoring to prioritize the best prospects. Then you've got personalized messages tailored to each lead based on whatever data they have, and they strategically use intent triggers to spot those signals that a lead might be ready to buy. It's a much more scientific, personalized way of finding potential customers.
So, instead of blasting out those generic messages, it's about actually trying to understand and connect with each potential customer in a way that's relevant to them.
Yeah. Exactly. They call it incanceable prospecting execution, which basically means this SDR GPT is constantly working. It's finding those ideal leads, using digital tools, reaching out at the best possible time with these personalized messages across all kinds of channels, email, WhatsApp, social media. It even handles the automated follow-up based on how the lead engages and seamlessly schedules meetings for the human closers once a lead is qualified. It's like having this tireless, super efficient assistant.
That's wild. So, are they measuring its success somehow?
Yeah, the manual highlights three key metrics they're tracking for the SDR GPT: the response rate to those initial outreach efforts, how well it converts leads into actual meetings, and the overall cost per scheduled meeting. It's about constantly monitoring these numbers to see what's working, find areas to improve, and ultimately make the whole lead generation process way more efficient.
And once they've got a meeting lined up, is that where the closer GPT comes in?
You got it. The Closer GPT acts as this AI-powered closing consultant. It gives human closers a structured script that's all based on buying psychology, so it's pretty sophisticated. This includes steps for building rapport, figuring out the prospect's needs and problems, presenting the solution with like testimonials and social proof, and then strategically using various closing techniques to guide them towards saying yes. It's almost like having this AI enhanced guide for navigating that final critical stage of a sale.
Like an AI powered playbook guiding the human closer through every conversation. That's pretty incredible.
It is, and it doesn't stop at just getting the initial sale. There's also the Negotiator GPT, which is all about getting the most value out of every customer relationship. It looks at things like upselling other products or services, using price anchoring to make the initial offer more appealing, and setting up recurring billing for that steady revenue stream. It's not just about one transaction, it's about building lasting value.
So it's thinking long term, building a relationship that's beneficial for everyone.
Exactly. And the Negotiator GPT keeps track of crucial numbers like the upsell rate, the average amount spent per transaction, how well they're retaining customers, and how often those customers come back. All of this sophisticated automation and scalability is built on a really integrated tech stack. We're talking tools for lead generation, automated emails and messaging, meeting analysis, CRM, which is customer relationship management for those who aren't familiar, automated follow-ups, and even managing payments and recurring subscriptions.
Wow, that's a lot of moving parts. How does the GPT manage all of these different tools?
The manual explains that the GPT uses these resources to watch all the sales activity, create those personalized automation workflows that are specifically tailored to different customers, and even find patterns in customer interactions that are most likely to lead to conversions. It's constantly learning and adapting based on what's happening in the real world, which is pretty amazing.
It's like it never sleeps. This whole thing is a blueprint for AI-driven sales. It makes you wonder about the technology behind all this, how it can do all this. Rodrigo also shared some info about Crew AI. What is that exactly?
Crew AI is described as this leading multi-agent platform that's built for creating and deploying these automated workflows that use large language models, LLMs. Think of it as a way to build teams of AI agents. Each agent has its job, and they all work together on these complex tasks. It's got features for building these systems quickly, whether you like using a visual interface or you're more comfortable with code, deploying them reliably across different environments, tracking how these AI crews are performing, and giving you the tools to keep tweaking and improving them.
So it's like a platform for building and managing entire teams of AI agents to work on all kinds of stuff. That's pretty wild.
You got it. Crew AI gives you options for how you want to deploy it. To cloud-based, self-hosted on your own servers, or even local. It's designed to work seamlessly with a bunch of different apps. Plus, it's got a user-friendly interface for managing those AI agents and seeing exactly how they're performing and what results they're getting. And get this, the potential uses are endless, from cloud computing and marketing to healthcare and finance, which just shows how versatile and powerful a platform like this is.
It sounds like he's going beyond using just individual AI tools and thinking about how to build whole automated systems to achieve his business goals, which is pretty forward thinking, if you ask me. Let's switch gears again. He also shared this document called Estrategia para convencer autodar, which seems to be all about convincing a Dr. Matsum to become like an online authority in mental health, which is a pretty interesting objective.
It is. What's interesting about this document is that it shows Rodrigo really gets Dr. Madsum's potential hesitations. It acknowledges that maybe he's in this transitional phase in his career, maybe focusing on aesthetics now, but wanting to move more into mental health. And it also recognizes that not having a specialist title in mental health could be a big hangup for him. The entire strategy is designed to address these very specific concerns and insecurities.
So, how does he plan to convince Dr. Matsum?
The whole strategy hinges on getting Dr. Manson to see three key things. First, the urgent need to step up his online game and the risks of not doing so. Second, the idea that in today's digital world, real authority comes from impact and communication, not just titles or credentials. And finally, painting this picture of a positive future where digital marketing takes his practice and his reputation to a whole new level.
So, it's about shifting his focus from potential limitations to the possibilities of having a real online presence.
Exactly. The document even has these specific phrases, carefully chosen to resonate with him. For example, it points out that his online reputation is already being built, whether he's involved or not. And it asks him, straight up, does he want to be known for what really matters to him, mental health, or just aesthetics? It's direct, but still empathetic.
It's like a subtle nudge in the right direction. And then does it end with like a specific closing technique?
It does. They use a technique called the efeito da decisão inevitável, the effect of the inevitable decision. It's a three-step process. First, they diagnose Dr. Manson's current situation, wanting to be recognized for mental health, but maybe not having that online presence yet. Second, they show him social proof, examples of how they've helped others in similar situations. And finally, they give him a clear call to action that makes moving forward with building his online presence seem like the most logical, inevitable next step.
It's very structured, and it's clear he's putting his NLP knowledge to good use here. It's interesting to see how Rodrigo's applying those principles in such a targeted way. He also briefly mentions Golfinho ou Porto da PNL no Brazil, which seems to tell us something about his background.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
The fact that he mentions Golfinho, which is clearly a platform dedicated to NLP, neuro-linguistic programming in Brazil, just confirms his interest and likely his expertise in NLP. NLP is all about how our brains, our language, and our behavior are connected. So it's a super powerful tool for communication, persuasion, and personal growth, things that are at the heart of everything we've seen Rodrigo do. It makes sense that his understanding of how people think and respond to language is what informs so many of his strategies.
Makes total sense. His NLP background is probably what's behind those persuasive strategies we saw in the Closer Manual and his plan for Dr. Madsum. Now, let's talk about his understanding of content creation, especially in healthcare. The document Instrucciones para GPT Creação de Conteúdo Médico para Redes Sociais, Dr. Felipe, is incredibly detailed.
Oh, it is. The goal is to create content for Dr. Felipe that really sells, focusing on his specialties: gynecology, infertility, and laparoscopy. And the big picture goal is to turn his followers into patients. The instructions cover a wide range of formats: individual posts, Instagram carousels. They even tell the writer to refer to their high engagement carousel report for guidelines, short videos like Reels and TikToks, using that ADA structure and featuring Dr. Felipe himself, and then engaging Instagram stories. It's a multi-platform approach.
It's like covering all the bases to reach potential patients. What about the content strategy itself, though?
The instructions lay out this clear marketing funnel strategy. They break the content into three stages. First, there's the top of funnel content, which is mostly educational. It's about common symptoms, debunking myths, and promoting preventative care. Then you've got middle of funnel content, which focuses on building credibility. This is where they talk about specific procedures, their benefits, patient success stories, that kind of thing. And finally, you've got the bottom of funnel content, which is all about conversion. They highlight Dr. Felipe's expertise and have clear calls to action for people to schedule consultations or learn more. They even require the use of this ADA plus TACO structure for the text and posts.
ADA plus TACO. Refresh my memory.
Sure, ADA stands for attention, interest, desire, action. It's a classic marketing framework. TACO adds trust, authority, connection, and objection handling, which makes it really perfect for healthcare.
Got it. So it's all very structured and everything has its purpose in the bigger marketing plan. Are there specific guidelines for different types of content?
Oh, yeah, for sure. For Instagram posts, they have this specific header format that has to be included so that everyone, from the digital strategist to the graphic designer, is on the same page. And there are rules about how to talk about certain topics, like laparoscopy. The content has to highlight that it's minimally invasive and specifically avoid saying major surgery. They also stress using language that's easy to understand, making sure all that complicated medical stuff is explained clearly for the average person. They even include a detailed persona of the ideal follower and the copywriter, plus instructions for creating content that fits each stage of the funnel. It's really comprehensive.
It shows you just how much he understands about creating medical content that engages potential patients, but also does it ethically and accurately. He also shared instructions for a senior strategic social media expert for Clina Feminina, which sounds like an even bigger strategy.
It does. This document builds on what we just talked about. The main goal is the same: turn followers into patients and establish those medical professionals as trusted authorities online. They provide all these details about content formats and guidelines. But what's interesting is the instruction to always highlight the relevant specialists from their Corpo Clinico 2024 list and use a specific signature for all their content. It's all about showcasing the clinic's expertise.
So it's not just generic healthcare content, it's promoting the specific specialists at Clina Feminina.
Exactly. They reiterate the use of ADA plus TACO for posts, tell the writer to refer to the report on high engagement Instagram carousels for visual content, give an ADA-based structure for Reels, and even lay out a sequence for capturing leads through stories. They talk about that content funnel strategy again, and they even talk about using psychological triggers, things like exclusivity and urgency, to get people engaged and taking action. They have standard posting guidelines, the official signature format for Dr. Karen Levis-Potzer, and a whole persona of the senior social media expert. It's super detailed and shows you how strategically he's thinking about medical marketing.
He definitely knows what he's doing. It's impressive. Now, going back to sales, he also provided a manual secreto do closer supremo. The title alone makes you want to know what's inside.
Right. The introduction tells you straight up. If you want to close deals consistently, you got to understand the buyer's mind and use advanced persuasion techniques. It goes way beyond those basic sales tactics and teaches closers how to identify and deal with those limiting beliefs people have and really shape how the prospect sees things throughout the sale.
So it's all about understanding the psychology behind a buyer's decisions.
Totally. It explains how emotions often drive buying decisions and people just use logic to justify those decisions later. It also outlines 6 major psychological triggers you can use in sales: reciprocity, scarcity, urgency, authority, social proof, and consistency. It even gives specific examples of how to work these into conversations to be more persuasive, which is pretty cool.
Knowing how to use those triggers ethically is definitely key to influencing how people buy. What else does this manual cover?
It breaks down the customer's decision-making process into 5 stages, from that initial uncertainty to finally feeling good about the purchase after they've made it. And it gives specific strategies for each stage to guide the prospect effectively. Then it gets into what it calls ultra secret closing techniques,
Yeah.
which includes things like the Zygarnik effect, basically, leaving some points slightly unresolved to make people want closure. The Solomon effect, which is all about referencing others who have already bought to kind of nudge the prospect, and a 3-phase neuroselling approach.
Neuroselling.
Yeah. It's all about establishing the prospect's need, then painting this vivid picture of how much better their life will be with the solution, and finally making it feel like buying is the most obvious, natural next step.
Those are some pretty high level tactics. What about dealing with objections? Because you know that's going to happen in almost every sale.
Right. The manual has a whole method called the reformulation method for overcoming those kind of objections like, I need to think about it, or I don't have the money right now, or I'll get back to you. The idea is to acknowledge the objection, but then dig a little deeper to find the real issue, the real hesitation, and then reframe the situation or the offer to address that. And finally, the manual stresses how important training is for closers. It talks about reviewing sales calls daily, practicing those scripts, and building that resilience so you can handle rejection and keep your motivation up.
So it's not just about knowing your product, it's about understanding people and using psychology to make the sale. It's a really in depth guide. It's interesting how Rodrigo also puts so much focus on social media content, as we can see from the relatorio, como estructurar carousel de alto engagement, no Instagram.
Oh, totally. That report shows you how important it is to him to create content that isn't just pretty, but actually works. Content that grabs attention and plays well with how the Instagram algorithm works right now. The main focus is on those key metrics: audience retention, how long people actually look at the carousel overall screen time, and organic engagement, which is basically how many people are interacting who found the content naturally without any paid promotion.
Those are the things that really matter if you want more people to see your content.
Absolutely. So the report recommends this 5-slide structure for the content, plus an eye-catching cover slide and a clear call to action at the end. That first slide, it's got to grab attention and make people want to swipe. The second one sets the context, helps people relate to the problem. The third one dives into the causes of that problem. Then the fourth one presents a potential solution, which is where the clinic or the professional subtly shows off their expertise. And finally, the fifth slide gives a clear call to action, like visit a website, send a message, save the post.
It sounds like a mini story almost. And the caption has to be on point too, right?
Definitely. The report says that the caption should work with the visuals. It should give more context and valuable info for the people who read it, but most importantly, it should encourage interaction, like asking people to save the post, comment with their experience, tag a friend. There's even this advanced secret they reveal. The Instagram algorithm now cares more about genuine connections and real engagement than just going viral. So things like how long people spend looking at a post and if they come back to it later are becoming really important.
So it's about building that genuine connection rather than just a quick, like, or a share that disappears in the feed. That's a good insight into where Instagram's headed.
Totally. The main takeaways are attention-grabbing covers, keeping the text on each slide short and sweet, writing captions that persuade and tell people what to do, and telling a story that keeps people swiping.
Okay, so that's how you make a killer Instagram carousel. Now, let's look at how Rodrigo approaches onboarding those medical professionals. The document Roteiro Estratégico, Reunião one by one, Produto Você no Post, seems to be a very structured way of handling those first meetings.
It is. The goals of that first meeting are to build rapport, make the doctor feel understood, and really explain how a solid digital presence can benefit their practice and their reputation. And the key here is using evidence data, real-life examples to back up those points. And it's important to note that the goal isn't to close a deal right away, but to build trust and understanding so they're ready for a more detailed sales conversation in a follow-up meeting.
So it's more about planting seeds and building that relationship first.
Exactly. The meeting is divided into 5 stages. It starts with breaking the ice, finding common ground, establishing credibility. Then they present the Voce no Post concept, which is all about creating personalized, engaging content that's a good fit for the doctor's expertise and target audience. The third stage is all about backing up their claims with evidence. They use things like current Google Health Trends data, research from Amazon, Google, and Apple on healthcare, and even a Harvard case study to show how important a good online presence is for doctors these days. Then they explain how much the doctor would need to be involved, how much time it would take, and finally they give the doctor a gift, usually an analysis of their current digital presence, to create that reciprocity and set the stage for a follow-up meeting to talk details and make a more formal proposal.
Using data and real world examples is probably the best way to talk to doctors because they're all about evidence based approaches.
For sure. And the instructions emphasize using data, logic, and examples to address any doubts the doctor might have. That gift is a smart move too, because it gives the doctor something valuable right away and makes them more open to having that next conversation.
Okay, so let's talk business side of things now. Rodrigo also shared Comissões Modelo para Aliança, which gives us a peek into how he's handling the financial side of his agency.
Yeah, this document lays out how they're calculating commissions and profits, both for the agency's digital marketing services and for any sales of medical procedures that happen through their network of doctors. It explains how they plan to split revenue between the agency and the salespeople who bring in clients or help with those procedure referrals.
And what about the charging models for the doctors themselves?
They're looking at a few different models to give doctors options. There's a percentage-based commission where the agency gets a cut of any new patients or procedures they bring in, a fixed monthly fee, or a hybrid model that combines both. The projections in the document show how they could make more money through these different revenue streams, especially the stability of monthly fees, the potential for higher earnings from commissions on medical procedures, and even offering different service packages at different price points. It's a well thought out business model.
He's definitely thinking strategically about making money and creating arrangements that benefit both the agency and the doctor, so everyone's motivated to succeed. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about Progetto Ora, Andre Ryan, A. Rodrigo, and those meeting minutes. This seems like a whole new venture targeting a totally different market.
You're right. Project Aura is all about offering Pijotizazo consulting, mainly for business owners in the auto mechanic world. The idea is to help these businesses save money on labor costs and become more productive by transitioning their workers from traditional employment contracts to becoming legal entities.
So they're helping businesses restructure their workforce to be more efficient and profitable.
Exactly. The meeting minutes show that they want to focus on the financial benefits of this, saving money and boosting productivity. They're going to educate these business owners about the hidden costs of having employees with traditional contracts, things like those mandatory insalubrity payments, benefit packages, and all the administrative work. They even did some calculations showing how much a workshop with 10 mechanics could save annually, which is a really concrete benefit to highlight.
That's a strong argument for sure. And how are they planning to structure this consulting service?
They're starting with what they call an MVP, or minimum viable product. It's a 6-meeting consultation program. The first 5 meetings are all about educating the business owner about péjorisation, the legal stuff, and how to actually implement it in their business. The 6th meeting is where they try to sell them a standardized legal contract to make the transition official. They're even thinking about partnering with a lawyer to offer this contract at a good price.
Sounds like they have a good plan in place. And what roles are Rodrigo and his partners Andre and Rian taking on in this project?
They're dividing the tasks based on what they're each good at. Andre's in charge of the mentorship and education side of the consultations. Rian is focusing on the tech tools they need, like platforms for communication, data collection, and managing client relationships. And Rodrigo is handling the sales and marketing, writing the copy, creating the brand, making a video to explain those invisible costs, and handling the social media. The meeting minutes also highlight how important it is to keep the focus on saving money, giving mechanics more autonomy, and making sure the whole process is legally sound. The next steps are to schedule follow-up meetings to track progress, set up a system for tracking everything, and test their marketing materials before they officially launch.
It sounds like Project Aura is well organized and has a clear target audience and a strong value proposition. It's impressive how Rodrigo's applying his strategic thinking to a totally new business.
It is. And when we look at everything we've covered today from Rodrigo's materials, a few key things really stand out. First, he's clearly committed to learning and staying curious, especially when it comes to AI, which is changing everything so quickly. His proactive approach to the AI mini course, doing more than what was required, and his analysis of the ethics of it all show that he's really dedicated to understanding this tech.
And his strategic thinking in sales and marketing is like undeniable.
Totally. That closer manual is meticulously detailed. He's crafted those social media instructions specifically for medical professionals, and his meeting strategy is structured and psychologically savvy. He clearly gets persuasion, marketing principles, and how to build relationships with clients. And beyond all that, he's got that entrepreneurial drive. He built his own agency, created partnerships, and now he's launching Project Aura. He's not just learning, he's doing.
So, for you, the listener, Rodrigo's journey shows how crucial it is to stay curious, embrace new tech like AI, and strategically position yourself in this ever changing digital world. He's a great example of adapting, being proactive,